Mario is one of Nintendo's biggest series and one of the most well-known series in all of gaming, with multiple different types of games such as kart racing, RPGs, and of course the beloved 2D and 3D platformers. These platformer games have time and time again influenced the gaming industry in many ways and are well known for their creative levels and entertaining gameplay. But one of the things that makes every Mario game stand out is the power-ups available. These items give Mario tons of abilities, and with there being over 50 different Mario power-ups, I decided to determine what each game's best power-up is. So yo guys, Crazytendo here, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're so close to 500 subs, so let's see how fast we can get there, and my goal for 2025 is to reach 1000 subscribers, so your contribution would mean a lot, it's free, and really it would help a lot. Alright, now with that out of the way, let's jump straight into the video, starting off with Super Mario Bros. On the NES. This game, along with the NES console, revived the gaming industry as a whole. So this is a very important game, and this is also where we get the 3 most iconic power-ups, being the Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Superstar. Now while you could say the Mushroom is this game's best power-up since it is also Mario's most iconic power-up of all time, to me the Fire Flower definitely takes the spot, as it allows you to damage enemies from a distance, which the other power-ups don't allow, and it's also not a limited time power-up like the Superstar. Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels had pretty much the exact same power-ups as the first game, so yeah, it's the Fire Flower here yet again. But moving on to Super Mario Bros. 2, this was such a weird game, and the power-ups also acted pretty strange, but I have to say the best power-up in this game is the Stopwatch, which you get by plucking the 5th vegetable in a series of vegetables, and that gives you the Stopwatch power-up. And when you get it, all the enemies in this level are then frozen for a few seconds. Yeah, this was a pretty weird power-up in an even weirder game. Now, Super Mario Bros. 3 was the sequel to Super Mario Bros. We all needed and is regarded as one of Mario's best entries. There were quite a few new power-ups in this game, but I think the best one has to be the Super Leaf. This iconic Mario power-up turns Mario into a raccoon, and he's able to tail whip enemies and fly for short periods of time. If you're able to find a P-Wing, this allows you to fly for unlimited amount of time, but only at that level, and when you play the next one, it will act like a regular Super Leaf instead. I guess I could also group the Tanuki Suit here, because this rare power-up acts like the Super Leaf, but you can turn into a statue, making you invincible to all attacks. These 3 power-ups are all so similar, but the Super Leaf gets the win here for being the most iconic one. But now back to weird Mario entries, Super Mario Land on the Game Boy hasn't aged the best and would definitely benefit from a remake, but as far as power-ups go, there's the Mushroom, Superstar, and the new Super Ball Flower, which is pretty much a poor man's Fire Flower. This power-up allows Mario to shoot balls at 45-degree angles, and what makes this different from the Fire Flower is that it can bounce off of walls and ceilings, and the balls also collect any coins that they touch. Jumping into the SNES's Super Mario World, which is regarded by many as the greatest 2D Mario game ever. With iconic levels, great 16-bit graphics, and a great art style, as well as some of the most creativity in any Mario game, it's not hard to see why it's so beloved. But this game also introduced quite a few new power-ups, and while I'd love to say Yoshi's the best power-up, he technically isn't one, so I'm gonna have to give that title to the Cape Feather. This power-up is sorta similar to the Super Leaf, allowing Mario to attack enemies with the cape and fly as well, but with the Cape Feather, once you start falling, you need to press back on the D-pad to catch more air to continue floating. I personally like this power-up more than the Super Leaf, but let me know what you guys think down below. Unlike the first game, Super Mario Land 2 has aged pretty well in my opinion, and deserves some sort of remake or remaster for newer audiences. This game features the iconic trio of power-ups from the first Super Mario Bros. Game, as well as the carrot, which I'd say is this game's best power-up. This turns Mario into a rabbit and allows him to float in the air for some time. This is basically a dumbed-down Super Leaf, and while it isn't as complex and doesn't do as much as that power-up, it works well enough for the limitations the Game Boy put on this game. Super Mario 64 redefined 3D platformers as a whole, and it's one of the most iconic and important games of all time. This is the game that brought Mario to the 3rd dimension and features some of the most memorable levels in the series. But as far as power-ups go, the traditional style of power-ups here were replaced by these caps, and there's only 3 of them, with 2 of them barely making an appearance, so I gotta give the win to the wing cap. This power-up allows you to fly, and you can explore whatever level you're playing in, which is pretty neat. You can either fly by doing a triple jump or getting launched from a cannon. While this is a pretty neat power-up, it's definitely being held back by the N64's awkward controller, and that's why it sometimes felt kind of weird to use. Mario's next 3D game, Super Mario Sunshine, didn't have any traditional power-ups at all, and instead we had FLUDD, a sentient water gun that allowed Mario to shoot water or propel himself in the air with water, and then let him hover for a few seconds. However, there are different attachments you can find for FLUDD which help to change up the gameplay, and the best one in my opinion has to be the turbo nozzle. This nozzle allows Mario to move really fast, and you can even run over water while using the turbo nozzle, which allows you to collect specific coins and shine sprites. While Sunshine is quite a controversial game, with some fans loving it and some hating it, personally I think it's an alright game, and it's greatly carried by FLUDD's fun gameplay. Before we move on, I want to remind you guys that if you are enjoying this video, do consider hitting the subscribe button, as it would greatly help out the channel and bring me closer to my goal of 1000 subscribers. It's free, and you can unsubscribe anytime you want should you wish to do so. Alright, with that being said, on to New Super Mario Bros. DS, which released on the DS and marked the Red Plumber's return to 2D platforming, and before it became the dull repetitive series it's now regarded as, New Super Mario Bros. Was a fresh game with new ideas and new power-ups to go along with it. The classic trio of power-ups return, along with 3 newcomers, the Mega Mushroom, the Mini Mushroom, and the Blue Shell, which I think is the best power-up in this game. This power-up basically turns Mario into a Koopa, and when you duck, Mario enters his shell form, allowing you to slide across the floor and damage enemies and collect coins while remaining invincible to most attacks. Super Mario Galaxy released on the Wii and is regarded by many people as a life-changing masterpiece. I'm not most people. While the game isn't too bad, it's definitely carried by nostalgia, and when you look at it objectively, it's an alright Mario game. However, it was the first 3D Mario to feature the traditional power-ups we all know, and introduced quite a few good ones as well, and then the Spring Mushroom. But my pick for this game's best power-up is the Ice Flower. This power-up is awesome and allows Mario to freeze enemies and also to skate on fire and water surfaces, turning the ground beneath them into ice. This power-up is used in my favorite level in this game, being Freeze Flame Galaxy, and the Ice Flower overall is one of the best mechanics in Super Mario Galaxy. New Super Mario Bros. Wii was the first Mario game to feature true multiplayer, allowing up to 4 players to play simultaneously. This game is regarded as one of Mario's best games, and it's not hard to see why. But the power-ups in this game were also pretty neat, with this game introducing the Propeller Mushroom, which is now one of Mario's most iconic power-ups. It allows Mario to fly straight up to the top of the screen and then slowly fall down, unless you ground pound, in which case you perform this drill spin that can damage enemies and break blocks. The sequel to Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy 2, is pretty similar to the first game but has plenty of fresh new ideas as well as power-ups. This game features the likes of the Drill Mushroom, the Rock Mushroom, and all the Yoshi power-ups. But besides all that, there is one power-up which I think is one of Mario's best power-ups of all time, and that's the Cloud Flower. This power-up allows Mario to create his own platforms midair to platform on, and he can have up to 3 platforms at a time. This power-up is very useful in many situations, and with how unique it is, it's definitely one of the best power-ups in any Mario game. The 3DS's first Mario game was Super Mario 3D Land, and this was completely different from the other 3D Marios, as this really felt like a 2D Mario but in 3D, complete with checkpoints and a flagpole, the timer, and of course classic power-ups. 3D Land featured the return of the Super Leaf, although it made Mario look like how he did with the Tanuki suit in Mario Bros. 3, and not the classic Super Leaf look. This would be my favorite power-up in the game, but since I already used it for Super Mario Bros. 3, I'll say that this game's best power-up is the Boomerang Flower. It's a pretty basic power-up, but it's still fun, and it turns Mario into a Boomerang Bro, allowing him to throw boomerangs at enemies and also use them to grab collectibles. New Super Mario Bros. 2 is one of the most disappointing Mario games, with basic levels and an oversaturation of coins for absolutely no reason. In fact, the only new power-up in this game is the Gold Flower, which just gives Mario coins for basic things, like running around and killing enemies, and the gold fireballs you shoot out do splash damage, so I guess that's cool. Technically, this would be the game's best power-up since it's the only new one, but it's still a boring and lame one at that. Nothing more to say here because again, this was such a boring game with a really lame new power-up. But moving on, New Super Mario Bros. U, the Wii U's New Super Mario Bros. Entry, is at least an improvement over New Super Mario Bros. 2, but not by a lot. One thing it does way better than the 3DS entry, however, is having better power-ups. The best one in this game has to be the Super Acorn, which transforms Mario into a flying squirrel, allowing him to glide short distances before landing on the ground or another platform. It's somewhat similar to the Super Leaf, but more basic and without the ability to tail whip enemies. While not the best power-up in Mario history, it's still pretty fun to use, and personally I like it a lot. Super Mario 3D World is a sequel to Super Mario 3D Land, but it's way better than that game, featuring more creative levels, better music, and of course, new power-ups like the Super Bell, which turns Mario into a cat, and the box power-ups like the Cannon Box and Propeller Box, and many more. While the Super Bell is this game's most iconic power-ups, as it's everywhere in this game, the Double Cherry is definitely the best one. This power-up spawns a clone of yourself, which you control at the same time as your original self, and you can also stack this power-up, which means you can control up to 5 Marios at once, while still keeping any power-up you had equipped before. The Double Cherry was originally a glitch, where the developers accidentally made 2 playable characters spawn at once, and then they decided to turn it into a game mechanic. This is a very unique Mario power-up, and is definitely the best in Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario Odyssey was a return to the more traditional open-world sandbox gameplay of the earlier 3D Marios, and just like Mario Sunshine, this game had one central mechanic being Cappy. But with Cappy, you can capture many different types of enemies, and so almost all 52 of these captures can be considered power-ups. It's difficult to choose the best one. There's lots of great ones in this game, such as Chain Chomps, Pokeos, Uproots, Gushins, Bowser, and hell, even a T-Rex. There are so many creative and amazing captures in Mario Odyssey, but I would say my favorite is the Sherm because come on, it's a tank. You are playing as a tank in a Mario game. That is so cool and weird, but it completely fits the theming and vibe of this game. You can shoot enemies and break obstacles blocking your way with this, and while it's one of the more simple captures and you can only really move around and shoot, the idea is so wacky that it has to be my favorite in this game. When Super Mario 3D World got ported to the Switch in 2021, Nintendo also gave us Bowser's Fury, a short side campaign that takes place on a large open world and it's based off of 3D World's assets, so there isn't really any new power-up. Just kidding, we got the Giga Bell. This power-up turns Mario into a giant cat with Super Saiyan hair, which is awesome. And it's also how you play one of the best boss fights in Mario history against Fury Bowser. The Giga Bell obviously can't be used whenever you want, and is only available when Fury Bowser awakens, which obviously makes sense, otherwise it'd be way too overpowered. Bowser's Fury did so many things right, and the inclusion of Fury Bowser boss fights and the Giga Bell is one of those many things. Now onto the final game for this video. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is as of right now the latest game in the series and brought Mario back to his 2D platforming roots after 11 years of no new mainline 2D platformer. This game does so many things right, and with the introduction of the Wonder Flower, the dozens of new mechanics in this game get even crazier. But it wouldn't be fair to say that the Wonder Flower is this game's best power-up, and also it isn't really a power-up either, so I have to give the title to the Elephant Fruit. This turns Mario into an elephant and allows you to swing your trunk to attack enemies and break blocks, push big blocks, dash across 2 block wide gaps instead of the usual 1 block gap, and also allows you to store water and spray dead flowers to revive them and get coins. This power-up is truly bizarre, but it's still amazing and one of the most unique power-ups in all of Mario. But what do you guys think of my picks? Let me know down below. Mario has such a rich history of various power-ups and so many of them are absolutely incredible. If you guys enjoyed this video, you may enjoy this video on screen where I talk about the best and worst track in every Mario Kart game. And remember, if you made it to the end and did enjoy the video, do consider subscribing to the channel. But with everything being said, yo guys, Crazytendo here, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.